So in OneDrive, you go to this upper left corner where there's a square of dots, and there, right, you would choose OneDrive. And once you're in OneDrive, this is what I had mentioned today. If you hadn't done so, make sure you create a folder that's called Pre-Calculus 1 or something. I think this is something you had already done. Once inside this folder, you go to this tab, drop down New, and you click on Excel. This is creating an Excel file here. And there's a few steps there about changing the name. You could see right now, I'm clicking on the top that says book. This automatically is generated with that name. I could also, if I click on it, I'm able to modify the name. I can also go to File, Save As, Rename, and this is where we can say something about COVID-19 data sets. I think this is going to be about Tennessee. Okay. So what we're going to do now is like a training data set. We're going to do something with one specific data set. Next week, each student, every single one of you, is going to be assigned to a state. And you will do the same thing that we're doing today with your assigned state. Okay. So right now this file is new and is empty. So we're going to take care of populating this. So let's see, that takes care of the first few bullets. So the next bullet says go to the repository. So we follow that link. And that takes us to this page. All this information is important, not for right now, but these data sets that we are, beginning to work with, you're going to use that in a project about linear functions, and then in another project about exponential functions. So eventually the projects are going to be, remember how last week in the project of graphs of functions, there was something about narrative, and I said, I'm not really taking points off because of the narrative, but I really encourage everybody to start writing something. So these projects of data, they will have, narrative will be an active part of that. That will be like writing a paper or a report. So eventually when you have to do that, you will have to report of what's the deal with this data, and that information of where the data comes from, how it's collected, all that is available here. But today, right now, once you follow this link and you're in this website, the next thing we're gonna do is to select, there is a listing that looks in blue, license, New York, probable, readme, US-counties, US-states. That's what we click next. Okay, so you select US states, US-states, and then your page should look exactly like my page over there, here, which is, how long is this list? How many? Let me ask you this, and maybe you can use the chat or you can use the microphone, but well, actually, before I ask you, I think it's better that we filter this, okay? So the next thing is, when you are on the page with all the data from all the states, just below what it says NYT-COVID, 2 contributors, something 10,000 lines, whatever, right there is a magnifying glass. Search for this file. There I need you to type Tennessee, T-E-N. I don't know if I can spell, but you type something like that with the, well, see, right now it doesn't like my spelling. Why is that? Am I missing something? Maybe it needs a capitalized version. Okay, that's what I didn't like. So once we type the name of that state there, then all the data that we see display on this page is only for that state. Okay, so you should be replicating this. And here's the thing, I'm going to, we're gonna do this twice. So I'm gonna do this on the screen. I'm going a little fast. We'll split into 3 groups. I'll visit every group, and as soon as we form the groups, you decide I need one person to share the screen. Doesn't matter if you are you know, not up to speed, I need you to share the screen, and I have an option. There isn't, not I, me, but Zoom has an option of remote control. So if you share the screen with me, you can also give me remote control, and I can manipulate your Excel file. And that way, I like to do that with one person in every group. We'll make 3 groups, okay? So the next thing we do after filtering the data is that we are going, this is what I'm doing with my mouse, and I'm dragging my mouse, and I'm going to select everything in this table. There's a lot of lines. This is going down. This is a long way to go down. Okay, almost there. I want everything on that table, but not at the bottom of the page. I only want the numbers that are in this table that you can see in my screen. They look like blue. So with my computer, I use, I have a MacBook Pro, and here is Command C. I think if you have a PC, you would be doing Control C. So I'm doing Command C for copy. And now I'm going to switch over. I'm switching over my, that file that I created in OneDrive that's completely empty. And I position the cursor right there on column A, row 1. So that's what I want the cursor. And I'm going to do, in my computer, is Command V. V as in Virginia, as in Victoria. For you, maybe Control V. And when I do that, it pastes what I had copied. Now, the pasting is a little funny. It kind of gets a little, the first line is not quite right, but really that doesn't matter. Before I do anything to the first line, you can see that here, once it's pasted, it goes all the way down to, this is dated, right? So the last date there should be September 16th. And the very first day is March 5th. So what I'll do with the first row is, that's the part that didn't paste right, completely right. So I'm gonna cut it, and I'm just gonna move it one cell. It's not super important, but okay. So that's the first thing that we need to do to bring that data now into this Excel file. And the data that I'm really interested is, from what I have here in the screen, is column E, because those are the number of cases. So I am going to do 2 things. One thing is I'm going to create a column called day, okay? And I'm going to create another column called log cases. You see what that's transformation. For the day, I'm going to create a label that is different than the actual date that they have there. So I'm just going to start with the first day being 0, and the second day should be 1, and the next one should be 2. So it should be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. And one way is using the Excel functions in the cells. So I can say in the next cell here, equal, and I say 1 plus, this is kind of like what we're talking about, the vertical shift. So adding 1 to the previous cell, this is I, and the previous cell was will be I2. And if I do that and hit enter, that gets instated there as a function in the cell. I could also do equal 1 plus, and then with my cursor, I can, this is something that's a little subtle, I can click on the previous one, and there is that dash thing that goes around that's kind of selecting, and now you can see that in blue I3, I hit enter. So I kind of enter a function on each of those cells, and this is the other thing that could be useful. So once that cell has a function, I have a plus sign with my cursor. I go to that right corner. Here, if you're trying to do this with a phone, this is kind of tricky. It's best to do use a desktop or laptop. So I want the cursor in that corner, and I'm gonna drag it. And when I do that, I will drag that function down. So we do a few at a time. So it looks like it's propagating. And now I'm gonna, this is like 200 lines here, or how many days? It is all the way down to almost, there is all the way down, right? So we need a few more. That's almost the middle of August. And here, let's go a little farther down. There you go, middle of September. Okay, so it's like 109, almost 200 days, right? So this day count 0. Okay, so And then for log cases, I'm gonna enter another function. This would be equal log log parentheses. And now I'm going to specify, I'm gonna select column E. So here I could write E2 and then close the parentheses. Or I could do log, I'm doing that in the next cell. And then I can select that cell, right, and close the parentheses. And similarly, I'm going to drag this function so it propagates all the way down. And again, if I'm going too fast, this is being recorded also. Okay, so